This is Alex Okafor, lifetime Longhorn and Super Bowl champion with the Kansas City Chiefs. And today on Behind the Facemask, we have Texas safety, Michael Taaffe. Appreciate you for joining us today.
For sure. Appreciate you having me, brother.
Yes, sir. So for the fans watching, you're a local Austin guy, went to Westlake High School, went to back-to-back championships with them and won both of them in 2019 and 2020. Westlake is a powerhouse. We know that. Explain to me, I guess, in your opinion, what makes that program special? Like, what's y'all's secret sauce?
I would say the coaches, first off, and then the players kind of buying into what they're saying, off the field and on the field. Just having that physical nature about you on the field and then off the field, being a great gentleman to the janitors, to the women and the facility, and just being an overall good guy. And what comes with that is love around the locker room and love around the facility. And when you have love for one another, you're playing for one another. And when the running back breaks a 80-yard run, the backside corner is going to run his tail off to go tackle him to have one more play, and just see what that gets you. And that's kind of what we showed through our playoff run. You could see examples of that. And so I love those guys still to this day. And I think that's kind of what makes us. That's what we have our foundation on, is, just loving one another.
Absolutely. So talking to you kind of off camera, you said growing up, y'all kind of, in Westlake, y'all used to eat, breathe, and sleep football. So like growing up from elementary school to middle school to high school, like, what does that pipeline look like? Like, is it just camp after camp, or like, what does that look like? How do you get the kids all on the same page to build such a prestigious program?
Yeah, well, we understand that we're not the most athletic bunch, not the most athletic high school. We know our legs are white, but no, I think the most important thing is seeing the success before us, seeing guys like Drew Brees, Sam Ellinger, Justin Tucker, and seeing them go to the state title, seeing them go to Jerry World and win it all, and knowing how special that is. That's everything you dream for. So when you're working in the off season, that's the only thing on your mind. So you play 16 games if you go to the state championship in high school. And so everything we do, as far as extra work, we got 16 reps. So it's a special program over there.
And you mentioned like the alumni program, names like Drew Brees, Nick Foles, Justin Tucker, guys I play with like Ryan Swope, younger guys like you, Colton Vasek, Ethan Burke, all of these guys. As alumni, do they come back and kind of like give the younger guys free game, or like do you have access to all like this big alumni program?
Yeah, for sure. So Coach Dodge, who was the head coach a couple years ago, now it's Coach Salazar. But he always preached to us, to the seniors when they would leave, was like, hey, this field house is y'all's. Y'all built it. Y'all are the ones that made it super special. So no matter what you're doing, come back. Your family here. We love you here, and anything that you say, we'll have the time to, at least listen and take it into consideration. So I think that's the most special thing, is like knowing that you're welcome to come back. And me and Burke and Vosick, we all were at the Westlake game when they played North Shore this past weekend. So just knowing that we're all family is super special.
Absolutely. So, I have to ask, 2020 state championship game, defensive MVP, not one, but 2 interceptions against our now quarterback, Quinn Ewers. In the locker room, do you ever talk shit to him or like just joke with him about that game?
Yeah, the funniest story is when we first kind of officially met. So he was one of the first people I saw when he came in January, and we kind of just, I was feeling good about it because I had the leg up on him. So I was like, what's up, man? How you doing?
You're going out of your way to kind of talk to him.
But then he jumped in my line and workouts, and finally, we're going to get water or something like that after a drill, and he was like, he broke the ice. He was like, hey, man, I didn't know you could jump that high.
I'm not going to lie. That's a great response, man. Yep.
So credit to him. And so from then on, we started joking about it. But he's like one of my best friends. When we did media after the Big 12 championship, one of the interviewer guys told me that he walked in, he was like, I'm just glad that Michael Taaffe was on my team this time when I was in AT&T Stadium. So he jokes about it just as much as I do. But man, I was glad I was on his team throwing for 450 and breaking records.
Absolutely. So during your recruiting process, you were originally committed to Rice. And then later on, you kind of switched to UT as a preferred walk-on. Can you kind of like break down for us how that process went about? How did the Texas coaching staff get you to drop a full ride to come on and essentially play for free?
Yeah, I think I grew up an Austin native, a lover of the University of Texas, a guy that dreamed to be in the burnt orange. And so I don't think it was too hard for them, just knowing that I'm a guy that loves the University of Texas. And so after the state game, they gave me a call and told me that I had a spot here. And, my life, I've always been climbing the uphill battle in the game of football. I started sophomore year, I was on JVB team and thought I was going to quit at one point, and just had to keep grinding, outwork everybody, and get a spot on varsity. And then the rest is history. But so I knew what it was going to take to be a walk-on and, try to earn my spot and then try to earn my playing time, and trying to be a leader on this team and try to give my 2 cents on what it takes to win. Nice.
So was there, whenever you committed to Texas, was there like a under the table deal, like, you play 1 or 2 seasons and we're going to do our best to try to get you a scholarship? Or did you just come into the program just off the love of Texas and you're like, you know what? Nothing's going to be given to me, whatever. I'm gonna work my ass off and whatever happens, happens. Like, what was that dynamic like?
Yeah, for sure. There was no deal. Coach, the only thing Coach Gideon told me was I treat all my guys fairly. And that was the best news I could ever hear. Just knowing that whether he meant it or not, I was at least going to get his attention. If I got an opportunity, I was going to make my play and show him that I deserved to be here. But it was difficult. For sure difficult. Guys that were in my corner from the jump, Westlake people, family, friends, they were even telling me, I can't wait to see you, be in the burnt orange and being on the sideline and just being on the team. And I would always say I appreciate it, but in the back of my mind, I was like, that's not going to be my standard. I'm gonna play. Just watch this. So that was always my motivation, is proving myself right, and just believing in myself and letting the outcomes control itself.
So whenever you came into the program, after your redshirted season, you immediately got on the field and made an impact as a walk-on. That's hard to do. There's scholarship athletes that don't even get to play that early. In your opinion, what attributed to you getting playing time at such a young age?
Yeah, there was a lot of things that went into it. What it takes to be elite at the University of Texas, so I'm just trying to be like you. But no, I think, there's a difference between dreams and goals. I think dreams is something that you lay down at night knowing, all right, I wish I can get to this point. And then goals are, all right, weekly, I'm going to accomplish this, and then this, and then this, and then this. And you look up and your dream is right in your face. And so the most important thing for me was not looking at the bigger picture, but really just looking about what was right in front of me. What was my next step? Whether that was, spend the night at the facility, just all night, just grinding. Or whether it was just, trying to be a leader in my position group, not vocally, of course, because I didn't have that yet, but just doing it by example, running by, the safety that was the starter and trying my best to beat him in every single drill. Just little things like that uplifted my competitive nature, my competitive edge. But just having that chip on my shoulder really just got me through, being a walk-on and then getting on the field.
You mentioned having a chip on your shoulder, the way you approach the game. As a walk-on, I'm assuming that's got to be the mentality every single day. Can you kind of shed a little bit of light on that day after day, having that chip on your shoulder? Like, does the chip ever get smaller or does it just continue to grow? Like, what does that look like for you?
Yeah, well, just the last thing that you mentioned, the chip being smaller is just pride. The devil telling you that you're much greater than you are. And so if you get lost sight in that, just not remembering who you are or who you were when you were trying to earn that spot, then you miss everything. And you just start to fall back down the ladder. And so for me, it's hard. It's frustrating. It's difficult. It's mentally draining to be a walk-on and to do the right thing over and over and over again, and then still not get your shot. It's difficult, but you got to have the right mindset to know that, hey, they're not going to give you this shot. They're going to give you 1 out of every 5 reps, and you got to make that 1 rep count. And they're not going to look at the first one. They're not going to look at the second or the third one. You got to do those 3 right, and then make the 4th one count, and then do it in the scrimmage, and then do it in the spring game, and little things like that. And then they'll finally notice you, and injuries happen, little things happen, and there you are. You're in the game, and you make your play, and you stick there, and you earn their trust, and then the rest is history. So you just got to take every day, treat it as the most important day, and let God control the rest.
I'm glad you kind of shed some light on your situation, because in my estimation, I feel like being a walk-on, especially at this program, is probably more difficult than being a scholarship athlete. One, because like you said, you're not getting all the reps. You're getting a rep here, you're getting a rep there. So you can't get into rhythm. You can't get into the flow of the game. Right. You got to essentially come in cold and be expected to produce at the level that everybody else is producing, which is just insane. Yeah. So I tip my hat off to you. But I guess outside of having fewer reps and outside of the financial burden of paying for your own education, what other difficulties does being a walk-on student athlete present?
I think if you let all the little games of who gets the reps, of what recruit this guy was, of what you are on the depth chart, if you let all that get to your head, that can be really hard. And I'm the first to admit, at times that really got to my head. And just because this guy was the 2 and I was the 3, even though I was producing better than him, I was like, this is BS. I'm producing better than him. I got better stats than him in spring, but he's still over me. Like, I don't understand this. And I'd have a lot of conversations with my roommates, that understood my position, and they had to tell me the hard truth. Like, dude, he's a scholarship guy. They paid for him to come here. You're not going to get that recognition right off the bat. You got to keep going and going and going. So I'd be a fraud if I sat here saying that I did it all by myself. It took a lot of low points. And it took a lot of, talking with my friends and family to even get to this position. And then being able to come in there cold turkey, when somebody gets hurt or somebody gets gassed and needs a breather, is super tough. I had to learn that on the fly. I wasn't really talented at first. It took a couple of games to get under my belt of, how to really do that. But just knowing that you got to be here for the team, not for yourself. It doesn't matter what your stats were. You got there and you got the win, and that's all that matters. And I know you know that more than anybody, because you had a really successful career here, and guys like me look up to you. So just knowing what it takes to get a win here at Texas, and then knowing what the history is, that just means everything to me.
How do you keep your pride contained? How do you keep your frustrations at an even keel, knowing that I'm outperforming this guy time in and time out, yet I'm not getting more reps? Like, it almost feels like there's not much you can do. I know one of my favorite sayings is control what you can control. And I try to live my life like that, but you can only take so much, right? Yeah. So like, what are some of the conversations inside your mind, or some of the conversations with your close circle? What did that look like? Yeah, for sure.
Well, it all started first with my faith. I think, I put my foundation on God, and understanding that His plan is ultimately better than mine. My plan would be to come in here as a freshman, get a scholarship after week 2, and be the starting safety, and go All-American, go 3 years, and then go first round. But obviously that's not what God wants for me, and that's not clearly what's best for me. And so just understanding to renew my mind on His truth and not on my own self-righteousness has been really what's solved all my pain. because there's been times that I've been so frustrated, like we talked about. But secondly, I think it's almost good to be frustrated, because if you're not, then you're just going to be complacent. And I had a talk with Coach Gideon one time when I was still trying to make it. And I told him those things. I was tired of, just playing better than the guy that was in front of me and not getting the recognition. And the first thing he said was, I know who you are by you coming up and being frustrated. You're a competitor, and I like that about you. And then he just told me to trust the process, and they got a job and they got to feed their families at the end of the day. And so just to trust it and keep working, and everything else will, fall in line. So
I love that you said that you lean on your faith in times of like frustration and in times of adversity. I do a lot of speaking engagements with kids in my community and whatnot. And that's one of the biggest things I tell them. They always ask me, because I had a lot of injuries in my career. They always ask me, they're like, hey, yo, when you're hurt, like when things aren't going your way, like how do you deal with those issues? And I always tell them, you got to lean on God. Right. Like you have to. You're not going to get through none of these situations. You're going to talk yourself out of a blessing, trying to lean on your own strength. You need to lean on the Lord. And that's kind of my message. So I say all that to say that I respect the way you approach the game, man, and keep doing that.
For sure. I appreciate it. I love what you said.
So you said you and Coach Gideon have a special relationship. I love hearing that, because I played with Blake for 3 years, and he was one of the biggest leaders on the teams that I played on. What is y'all's dynamic like?
Yeah, well, Coach Gideon just as much as I do. That he doesn't mess around. He's straight business, and that's what I really like about him. You know what you get. You're not getting a fake guy at any point in time. He's straight business, and he's real with you at every moment in time, whether it's meetings on the field, in practice, in the film room. And so that's what I most enjoy about him, because I can be transparent when I know that he's being transparent. And so, I feel like his office is an open door. Anything that's weighing on my heart, I feel like I can, extend that vulnerability to him, and he'll give me the honest truth, whether, I think he thinks I'm totally wrong or he agrees with me, and where we should go from there. So there's been times where he's like, no, you're wrong. Like we should not do it. We should either not do it your way, or whatever you're thinking is wrong. Like change your thought. And then we've also agreed. So I just love the realness that he has. He keeps it 100.
So towards the end of last season, right before the Alamo Bowl, you finally got that scholarship, that full-blown scholarship. What can you kind of explain the emotions behind that feeling for you?
Yeah, I think just a lot of weight off my shoulders, and just to know that you accomplished one of the goals that you put out, one of those dreams that you had, and everything that you've been working for. And obviously, there's so much more to go, but just to make that first kind of milestone. I just felt really good, just felt really rewarding. But my most, my favorite thing about that was my teammates all loving on me. That meant the most to me. No matter how much money came with the scholarship, how much respect it came with by the coaches, seeing my teammates all super happy for me, that meant the world to me. I watched that video time and time again, and I don't watch myself. I watch all my teammates, jumping up for me, hugging me. That just means so much. And, you've been on Super Bowl teams, Big 12 contending teams. And so I know what it means to have your teammates really love you. And so that was the most special thing to me.
No doubt. So when I played, we only gave out scholarships to the walk-ons their senior year. You got yours as a redshirted freshman. Did you even know that was a possibility? Like, does Texas now have a history of giving it to underclassmen, or were you like the first underclassman that got the scholarship?
Well, Jett Bush got it when he was around my time. So his timeline kind of motivated me. Watching him do it kind of gave me a lot of motivation. So that was really cool to have kind of that big brother type of vibe in the locker room, and going to him when I was a little frustrated, that was cool too. So that was cool, but did I think I was going to get that early? No. So I was really blessed when that call came.
But you knew it was potentially on the table, though, and it was always a goal of yours, I'm assuming,
for
right?
Sure, 100%.
That's awesome, man.
Yes, sir.
So it's been reported that you were the quintessential piece in getting Arch Manning here at Texas. Can you just kind of shed light on what y'all's relationship is like?
Yeah. Bro, like, it would be like one of your teammates, like, just taking him out to lunch, taking him out to dinner, and then showing him Kansas City or showing him Arizona, a place where you got drafted, and just, him being new to that place. And that's what it was. Like, he was already one of my teammates, I felt like, because he was such a, just a good guy to be around. Everybody loves him, not just because of his name, but because of his personality. And he's really smart, really cool, and just fun to be around. So that's kind of how I treated it. I was like, no, this is just my friend, like one of my teammates, I feel like, and I'm just showing him around my city. So that was the coolest part, was like, everybody was like, what did you do? And I would joke with people. I'd be like, yeah, I took him to wherever the pretty girls were. But really all it was is just like, he loves football so much. He wants this university to be great so much. Like, there was times where it was Saturday night and the coaches wanted us to take him out to 6th Street, but we straight up sat in the recovery room and like sat in the boots and just talked.
During his official visit?
Okay, I kid you not.
That's a different level of dedication right there.
We were in the recovery room. We throw on the boots, the compression boots, and we straight up just talk about football the whole night. He was like, I don't want to go out and do all that stuff. Like, I don't want everybody taking pictures of me. I just want to talk about ball. I came here for ball, and I came here to make a decision about where my future is going to be. And we just talked about the University of Texas and how we can get back to when you were playing. So that was the coolest thing to me.
So I'm assuming no frat houses, no 6th Street, just good eating, sightseeing, and recovery boots.
Yeah, there was times he was out at 6th Street and out of the frat house, but I think that was just more so people, wanting him to get out. I don't think he really wanted to do all that stuff. I know he loves seeing people, and I know he knows a lot of people in the fraternities and whatnot, but he didn't want to do all that partying. He wanted to come here to talk about ball.
So what, did you know him before the official visit, or how did the coaches, I guess, pair y'all up in terms of you hosting him?
Well, he's like a super football junkie. So he knows everything about like Texas high school football. And
even though he played in Louisiana? That's crazy.
Crazy. So that's what I mean when I say he's a football junkie for sure. But he came up to me one of the times that he was on an unofficial, and he was like, bro, you're tough. And I was like,
he's been watching your tape.
Yeah. Okay, and I was just a little walk-on freshman trying to survive. And I was like, Arch Manning's coming up to me and saying I'm tough. Like, dang, I must be doing something right. But
was this before or after the scholarship?
This was before.
Okay. Yeah.
So we talked about the state game and everything like that. And we kind of just talked about football and whatnot. And, we traded numbers and we started texting here and there. And, I was kind of a guy that he could trust, because he knew I wasn't trying to sell him to come to Texas. He knew I wasn't one of the coaches that was like, maybe not telling him the full truth. I was just a guy that was here to be his friend. And I think that was the biggest thing for him.
So as you're warming up, you're on the bus ride, you make the Bevo walk. What's on your pregame playlist? Yeah,
so there's different vibes. And I don't know, you got to share yours after I share mine.
I got you.
But I like chill, like 2 hours before when we're doing like walkthroughs in the hotel, kind of like country, maybe a little bit slower rap, some gospel music. And then right when we step out of the bus to go to Bevo Boulevard, it's more upbeat rap. I like Meek Mill. I like Future.
Yep. Can't go wrong with any of those dudes.
And a little bit of Lil Baby. So that kind of keeps me going when we get into the facility and we put the pads on. So that's kind of how my whole day goes. How about you?
I was going to say, the more I ask this question to athletes, I feel like it's sort of a similar process for everybody. So I was the same way. I was like, when I was in the league, we played Sunday. So I'd wake up in the morning if we had an early game. I start getting a little bit of gospel, get the word in, get that good vibe, that good feeling going. And then I transition into some smooth R&B just to, keep the emotions kind of even keel. And then when you're on the bus, you get to ramping it up a little bit. And then once you hit that 2-hour mark before the game, that's when, like you said, the Meek Mill, the Future, the Baby, all these dudes coming on. So it's funny to hear you say that because I feel like it's similar for most athletes.
For sure. Yeah.
So off days are on Sundays for y'all, right? Mm-hmm. Or recovery / off days, right?
Yes, sir.
So when you're not in the facility, what do your off days look like?
So my parents' house back in Westlake is on the lake Lake Austin. And so we don't have a boat or anything, but we have paddle boards. And so what I try to do is I'll drive out there whenever I get a shot. I don't always do it every Sunday, but just get out on the water. The water is my kind of my happy place. Okay. Sometimes I'll take my dog out there with me and just jump in and just, the lake feels so good. And so that's kind of what I like to do. Other than that, watch the prior game, hang out with my girlfriend, hang out with my friends outside of football because I spend enough time with them Friday and Saturday between all the gajillion walkthroughs we do on Friday and then Saturday morning. So hang out with my girlfriend and then hang out with my friends outside of football and trying to expand those type of friendships.
With you being a local guy and you talking about going home on your off days, seeing family, seeing friends, obviously hanging with your old lady, do you ever get overwhelmed with being that local guy? Like, do you feel like there's too many people trying to pull at you sometimes?
Yeah, sometimes it's difficult just knowing that there weren't really a lot of these people that were here for you when you were a freshman walk-on and you were going through a lot of tough times and you weren't there mentally. And now that, you're on the pedestal of the CFP and, it seems like in the outside world, everything's going your way. Now these people are wanting your attention, but I love it. At the end of the day, I know that most of these people from Westlake are also happy for me. And I don't get as many texts as my mom does, but she shares the light that these people are showing on me every time that she gets. She'll always relay the text messages and, she's just so happy to know that all these people are so proud of me. And that really means a lot. So at the end of the day, I really like it just to know that I can be a role model in my community for the people that are looking up to me and want to, do what I'm doing one day. It gives them, evidence that you can do it. If you set your mind to it, you can do anything that you want to do. So I really like that I'm that role model to some people, and I try to come back to the community as much as I can and just share light, be a lovable guy, and just do anything I can to help others.
And with you being a local guy from Austin, has there ever been situations where you've had to cut off old friends just because, I don't know, they weren't doing right or they were putting your career in jeopardy? Like, have you ever been put into that situation?
There's times that situations like that have come, and those are frustrating because you love them so much and you don't want them to go down that path or something like that. But you got to understand your circle is where you go in life. And if they're not on the right path as you or as you want to be, then it's tough to send them away. But sometimes you got to. But God says to love your neighbors just as much as you love yourself. So if I see somebody that I truly love going down the wrong path, I try my hardest to get them out of there and share that I'm just as broken as them and I need God just as much as them. But I just noticed something that they weren't the same when we were hanging out. So I try my best to kind of uplift everybody else and then just admit to anybody that maybe needs help that I'm the first person that needs help because I'm just as broken as anybody else, no matter what people say. So.
Absolutely. And last question, if you could give one piece of advice to a freshman that's trying to come in and play immediately, what would that piece of advice be?
Yeah, I think the first thing is just putting your head down and just grinding, not saying anything in the workouts, not doing anything on social media or anything like that. Just putting your head down and grinding. That's how you get the most respect by your older teammates is when you just don't talk and you're just a grinder and you're just a friendly guy in the locker room. everybody really likes that. Nobody really likes the guy that's coming in thinking that everything's about them and it's got a really high ego. When you're just the grinder, and I think this last freshman class has a bunch of guys like that. You get respect really early, and the coaches notice that too. The coaches know, who you are in the locker room, and they take that into consideration. So it's definitely difficult for guys like now because they're getting paid, $100,000 to come here and more. So when you're getting 6 figs to come here, it's hard to not know that everything's about you. But that's my one piece of advice, is just putting your head down and just grinding.
And I know I said last question, but this is interesting. With the way the NIL landscape is nowadays, like you said, you got guys coming in here getting hundreds of thousands of dollars, some even in the M's.
Yeah.
You, as a former walk-on, was there ever a dynamic in the locker room where there's a little bit of jealousy? Because you know how much work you're putting in. And I'm not even necessarily talking from your perspective, just throughout the locker room. Like, guys know how much work they're putting in. And the guys that have made a good amount of money, if they're not living up to their title, does that ever create some jealousy?
No, I definitely think that there's some jealousy in there, and that's just human nature. That's just how life is. People think that they earned something and they didn't get it, and so there's jealousy that comes with that. And it's tough knowing that at one point I was a guy that wasn't getting anything, and my locker buddy's getting 6 figs plus. And so that's a tough concept to swallow, but kind of what I wanted to hit on in this interview is, like, I think the one thing that changed this year from the past Texas teams that I've been on, at least, is the love for one another and the joy that we have, like, in the locker room. Like, it's really evident to know that these guys are having fun out there, and they're really, like, their bond for one another is straight on love. And when you have that as a team, then it's really hard to stop, let alone with all the talent that we have. Like, man, you've been on teams like that. You've been on Super Bowl teams. How important friendship is, and how important, just having fun is, because this game seems like so much of a business, and oftentimes it feels like that. But if you find the joy in it and you're having fun with it, then you don't work a day in your life. And that's really what this season is all about. And that's what we've shown on field. And that's what has made us, really special.
Yeah. And I've seen it too. I've seen it from all of y'all. Like, the maturity on this team is through the roof. The leadership on this team is through the roof. And you kind of shedding light on that just reinforces those thoughts. You can see it on the field. Y'all are having fun. Y'all are having a blast. Y'all are out there playing fast and executing. Like, y'all look like a completely different club.
Yeah.
And I tip my hat off to y'all. Y'all are doing it the right way. And please continue and go ahead and finish the job.
Yes, sir.
Man. All right, that wraps up this episode of Behind the Face Mask. I appreciate Michael Taaffe for joining me today.
Yes, sir.
Good luck in the college football playoffs and handle business.
Yes, sir. Appreciate y'all.